Brand, what are some of my should I call them worst shows? I'm gonna call them worst shows. But you call them low performance. All right. So what are my top 5 low performance shows? As you say it, I'll say it in the microphone. Signs you are a great leader.
Don't date this girl if
Don't date this girl if
more than a musician.
more than a musician.
Church marketing strategies.
Church marketing strategies.
Don't let people waste your time.
Don't let people waste your time.
Why don't you have friends?
Why don't you have friends?
And then the one about the church, the churches.
And the one I did about my church. All right. So all of those were low performing.
Yes,
I call them worst shows. All right. What are the worst shows out of the ones you just named?
As far as like the content or
No, not according to the numbers.
Those are the ones I named.
But what are the ones? What's the worst? What are the top 3 worst out of the ones you just named?
Signs you are a great leader.
Signs you are a great leader.
Don't date this girl if
Don't date this girl if
more than a musician.
more than a musician.
And then church marketing strategy.
And church marketing strategy. All right. So based upon the numbers, what do people come to my show to listen to the most? Sex and relationships. All right, cool. Thank you. All right. Yeah, man. So yeah, that's just what it is. So with that being said, the numbers don't lie. You heard me. So with that being said, of course, I'm gonna continue to be informative and all of that stuff like that. But if you want the numbers to go up and if you want the, you want the engagement, I'm going to just continue the vein of relationships. People don't care about no leadership. People don't give a doggone about what goes on in the church. That's just an interest of mine, right? But if you're gonna do business, if you're gonna do entertainment, if you're gonna do any of those things, if you're gonna create art, you have to do that compromise between what you like as an expression and what the people want to patronize, etc. So with that being said, y'all, I think I found my identity in this whole podcasting world, and it is the topic of relationship. You'll be surprised. People didn't care. I cared about how to be a millionaire when I did a segment about money and insurance. People didn't listen to it. Anything that I had concerning my church, people didn't listen to it. They didn't listen to it. Leadership, people don't care about that. People want to know how the devil to get a man. All right. With that being said, I do not post on social media for agreement. I post for engagement. This is why many of you people will say things that are contrary to something I may post, or, oh, y'all, people come for me all the time on social media, man. I mean, people say some of the most egregious, disgusting, disrespectful things to me based upon comments. And I'm cool with it. I don't get into arguments because it's not about agreement. It's about engagement. You heard me? All right. And so with that being said, I'm saying this topic is a topic that's going to be very, very sensitive to specifically the African-American woman, the woman in general, but it is going to be very, very sensitive to the African American woman specifically, because, and you'll see why. So I want to be very, very clear when I say this. I am not coming down on any woman. I am not being critical. I'm not trying to bash or anything like that. I just want to give 2 things. I want to give observation and opinion. That's it. So some things I will say will be observation. Some things I will say will be investigation. It's the facts. And then other things will say will just be my personal opinion, because I really want to help bring clarity to the topic of relationships concerning the woman. Culture is changing, y'all. Culture is changing, and it is getting it's getting worse, right? And when I say getting worse, people are starting to have limited filters, and it's starting to be anything goes. And so I think I want to highlight our culture's idiosyncrasies that I think are paramount, and they need to be illuminated so that we can have a clear direction about our future. Relationships are one of the most I think the topic of relationships is a tool that causes I'm finding that people don't do relationships well. I'm finding people don't do relationships well. And I think we need to be informed so that we can have an understanding, because I think we get wrapped up in relationships and it really causes us to, I think we don't have money because of relationships. I think we don't have more time in our lives because of relationships. I think I think we don't have money. I think we don't have time. I think we don't have focus because of relationships. I think we don't have clarity of identity because of relationships. And I'm saying wrong relationships or the misjudgment of what a relationship should be. Improper models of what relationships should be. So I think unhealthy relationships, they cause us to not have the money we want, not have the accomplishments that we want, not have the notoriety that we want, not have a clear focus that we want, not have the time that we want. I think all of us could have more time if we were not in unhealthy relationships. Here's how I know that's true, because a healthy relationship can steal time. It is statistically proven that when a person is single, they can get more done. It's just what it is, right? And so I'm grown. I'm almost 40 years old. So I'm not a child. I'm not a child. I'll never forget, man. I was on this platform and I was publicly embarrassed. I was publicly embarrassed. I'm not going to tell you the scope of the conversation, but I was publicly embarrassed. And I'm not saying this from an arrogant perspective. I'm just saying, hey, I was publicly embarrassed. The topic was about relationships, etc., and I was publicly shut down. And of course, a few years later, now I have a show that the highest stats of the numbers suggest that people listen to what I have to say concerning relationships. So there's always a story. I've been publicly embarrassed concerning the topic of relationships. And now, years later, people are listening. All right. So I said that to say this. I'm not a novice. I know exactly what I'm talking about. It's opinion. Everything is relative. We are all subject to our opinion. And I'm grown. So I do not have a problem in the area of relationships. I have made many, what they say in the country, many of mistakes. That's not even proper. But my point is, you can at least consider what I'm about to tell you. I want to talk to you today about the topic of being a mistress. The question was presented out of 10 women in the room. They asked me this question out of 10 women in the room. The question was, out of the 10 women in this room, how many of us will end up being a mistress to someone? And so I said this respectfully. I said, about 6 or 7 of you. And they said, what? I said, yeah, about 6 or 7 of you will be mistresses contingent upon certain things. It's not just, hey, you're going to be a mistress. It's contingent upon certain things. And that's what I want to talk to you tonight about. Ladies, it is probable. It's highly probable that if, specifically to my African American beautiful sisters, if you do not make certain adjustments, you're going to be the second, the side, or mistress at some point. And so, of course, everybody was taken aback by what I said. Not being disrespectful, this is a very sensitive topic because many women are struggling, specifically African American women are struggling with, will I ever be married? All right. So I want to preface by saying this. We need to understand this, especially we've done a disservice in the African American church, specifically the charismatic church, the charismatic non-denominational church. I've heard it all my life. I've been guilty of saying it. I'll never forget this, y'all. I was in church one day and I asked all my men to stand up. It was about a dozen men. In my church, I have about on roll. I don't know how many men I have. But it's about on roll, I think is about 100 men. But in that service that day, it was maybe in the sanctuary. And of course, y'all, this is not a Christian conversation, but we have to highlight some things from our Christian context. Okay. In that particular service that day, it was about it was several dozen men in the room. So I had all of them stand up and I had all the women show some love, clap, A, B, C, and D. And then I said, then I had all the women stand up and it was like, whoo, right? It was like, whoo. And so I had to ask this hard but necessary question. Out of all, it had to be like 130 something women and a few dozen men. And so I had to ask this question. I had to go ahead and say this. Y'all, look, the truth of the matter is we have been guilty of saying that God was going to send you a man and he's going to come from the north, the south, the east, and the west. And that is simply not true. That someone God is going to send a man. But the truth of the matter is, out of 130 something women that were in that room that day, there is no possible way, based upon the numbers, that every one of those women will be married, that every one of those women will be married and have children. It's impossible. God can do anything, but hear me, God can do anything, and he's a supernatural God. But then there is the law of the land. There's the law of evolution. There are principles, and based upon the stats, based upon investigation, based upon the numbers, etc., there's no possible way that God is going to send every woman a husband. It's not happening. It is not, there's no possible way that every woman, every black woman, I don't care if you educated, I don't care how bad you are, I don't care how successful you are, I don't care how much money you have. It is absolutely a disservice, and it is deception for we as for us leaders to stand before you and give you a false sense of hope that one day all of you all will be married. It's not happening. Now, I do want to say this. I do want to say this. The topic of being a mistress. Now, we all know that a mistress is, get this, y'all, a woman who is not a man's wife and with whom he is having a sexual relationship with. All right. Description of a mistress is in a long-term relationship with her attached mister and is often referred to as the other woman. Generally, the relationship is stable and at least semi-permanent, but the couple does not live together. They don't live together openly, and the relationship is usually, but not always, a secret. Hear me, y'all. 70% of African American women are unmarried. Now, hear me very carefully. Polygamy is starting to be something. I had to say this earlier, that polygamy or this notion that polygamy is new is very, very false. Polygamy has always been around. Polygamy has always, I'm talking about in Western culture. Hear me very carefully. Polygamy is starting to be socially accepted, but it has always been around. Number one. Number two, polygamy has taken different forms. We've always had people in relationships with multiple people. We've always had men to have multiple families. We, in the 60s and 70s, etc., you had a family in this corner. You had a man that had a family, his wife and their children, and then right down the street, he had children by another woman, A, B, C, and D, and the community already knew about it, but it was just not said. But what we're seeing now is we're starting to see people be more vocal about polygamy. It's starting to be socially accepted, and it is starting to be something that women are saying, if in fact I want my needs met, my sexual needs met, my intimacy needs met, if I want protection, if I want provision, etc., and hear me, and I am not choosing to be a homosexual woman or be in a homosexual relationship, I may have to share. Period. Now hear me. All of the Christian women are about to have a seizure right now. Not me, devil. Get out of here. Shoo, polygamous spirit. I'm not talking about demons, devils, spirits, or Christian Christian doctrine, if you will. I'm talking about, this is a social topic. All right. Socially, people are starting to accept the concept of sharing a man because women are realizing, hey, that there's a high probability that I'm not going to have one man to myself. Oh, and we have to understand that polygamy is not just a man having multiple wives, but polygamy is also a woman having multiple husbands. So there are men out there willing, there are men out there willing to share one woman. Hear me. Now, polygamy has taken different forms. We know this. You have polygamous relationships where there is a man that has multiple families. There's polygamous relationships where people are necessarily they're not aware that another person has another relationship. And hear me, a polygamy and a mistress is all contingent upon marriage. So we're not talking about girlfriend, boyfriend, etc. We're talking about married people, etc. So I want us to understand that polygamy, there cannot be a polygamous relationship unless there is marriage. Now, what we're seeing in America is people are be I think it's only one state in America that legalizes polygamy, and you'll start to see that. I said it about a few years ago, y'all. I said polygamy was about to be the new standard, and here it is. It's coming down the pipes. It's socially accepted. People are advocating for it, fighting for it, and women are starting to say, "Hey, I think it's a good idea." And you'll be surprised that there are some healthy, not talking about spiritually, we're not talking about any of those things. There are some successful polygamous relationships in society. Now, based upon law, you have to have a marriage license, A, B, C, and D. And as of now, it is not legal. But these people have put together contracts to say that we are in this relationship, A, B, C, and D, and they have worked out schedule, they have worked out finances, they've worked out all these types of things. So what I'm saying is, hear me, and we'll be surprised that in the next 5, 10, 15 to 20 years, the average of us will have we'll have one friend or two friends that are in polygamous relationships. It is just it's the hard truth and facts. All right. So what's my point here? I want us to understand this, y'all. 70% of Black women are unmarried, and we have to figure out why. We have to figure out why is it that that the African American woman is struggling with companionship. Is why we have to ask that hard question that we have done. Hear me, the numbers don't lie. Why is it that white women don't struggle with marriage? Why is it that Asian and Latino women do not struggle in the area of marriage and family? But the African American woman, who I believe is the greatest specimen of God's creation to ever walk this planet, why is it that she is suffering with the lack of companionship? Why is she unmarried? And why is she, hear this, why is she the one that's raising her children by her lonesome, and other races or ethnicities do not have that problem? Why? Why? Here's one reason, y'all. Respectfully, ladies, you know I love you. But African American women, out of all ethnicities, the truth of the matter is that African American men are the most disrespected group of men in the world by their own women. I'll say that again in case you didn't hear me. The African American men are the most dishonored, disrespected group of men in the world by their own women. You have Asian friends. You have white friends. I want you to test it. How many of them are raising children as single women? How many of them are single? How many of them were raised in a single parent home? We know it exists, but at what number? But why is it that African American men are not in the home? Why is it that African American women are raising their children at a high ratio by themselves? Hear me very carefully. The notion that African American men are bad, the notion that we are no good, we're bums, A, B, C, and D, deadbeats, don't take care of our children, etc., drunks, drug addicts in prison, blah, blah, blah. The notion, here it is, y'all, the notion in and of itself creates this stigma that causes a man to comply to that particular stigma. Hear me, it causes the world to see us out of that filter. But have you ever asked this question? what's the black man's side of the story? We know we know the black woman's side of the story. We know the black woman's side of the story. We know the struggle. We know the disdain. We know the difficulties, if you will. But have we asked the black man what's his side of the story? Here it is, y'all. If I were a preacher, I would say this: we know what your mama told you about your daddy, but did you ever think to figure out what your daddy thought about your mama? We have a lot of black children mad at their fathers, but have we ever said, I gotta find my daddy, not to let him know and tell him how pissed off I am for not raising me, but I gotta find him to ask, what's your side? And so we have a group of African-American children mad at one side, mad at a gender, typically the male, but we've never asked, well, what would cause you not to raise me? How was mama? See, mama would never tell you that she was not a good partner. Of course, my point is, y'all, what's his side? What's his side? All right, enough about that. So here's what I decided. I decided that a woman, African-American woman, is going to have to make some adjustments if, in fact, she's going to have a fighting chance of a spouse. Now, we know this, that it's socially, it is a social amongst women. Women typically go for a healthy, decent woman, typically goes for an alpha male. Now, hear me very carefully. You have different personality types, that every man is not an alpha male, but women are typically are typically drawn or attracted, or they gravitate to a man of alpha personalities. But that's not the only type of man. You have an alpha man, you have a beta man, you have a gamma man, you have an omega male, you have a delta male, and you have a sigma male. And I've taken the opportunity to study this the last few months about the difference between the alpha, the beta, the gamma, the omega, the sigma, and the delta. Hear me very carefully. Here's what I'm discovering. I'm discovering that women are going to have, if in fact you're going to have companionship, etc., there may be some slight adjustments that women need to make based upon where society is going. I am not advocating for polygamy. As a Christian man, hear me very carefully. Now, here's the truth. I want to start off by saying this before I get into the description of the different personalities of men. I do agree with Dr. Umar as it relates to the alpha male. Hear me very carefully. The alpha male, not in his nature wanting to settle with one woman. I agree with that. That is something that I agree with. And here's the truth of the matter. The average man will agree to that. Now watch this. It is the responsibility of any man, including the alpha male, to discipline himself and make a decision not to settle with one woman, but to be, hear me, y'all, be emotionally and mentally content with one woman, because it is extremely stressful. It is not, it is very, hear me, it can be unhealthy. It is, hear me, your desire can be for multiple women, but I don't know if we are designed to, hear me, what he was missing from his statement. It is natural for a man to want to mate multiple women. It is not natural for a man to, hear me, it is not in a man's capacity, emotional capacity, mental capacity, physical capacity, and doggone show, not in his providing capacity to love multiple women. Man, I hope you got that. It's, hear me, it is in a man's nature to want to mate multiple women. It is in the male species nature to want to mate multiple women. I do not think it is in our nature to marry, love, comfort, protect multiple women. It is almost practically impossible to do. We need to understand that. All right. So what Dr. Umar was saying was from a nature perspective. It was from a nature. So a man, any man, has to decide to discipline himself, hear me, to the place where he is ready not to settle down, hear me, not to settle down with one, because I don't like the word settle, like, oh, I'll take this. Watch this. I would prefer to use to be content with one woman. So hear me very carefully. But watch this, ladies, that does not solve your problem. It does not solve your problem. It does not solve your problem. Here are some of my opinions about what could help you in navigating through, especially those of you who are 30 and up. You're starting to have those feelings and desires for companionship, etc. All right, now hear me. Let me give you a description. Let me help you understand that 90% of women are attracted to alpha men. Here's what an alpha male is. An alpha male is a man who is highly intelligent, confident, and successful. Alpha males are generally considered great leaders and prefer to be in positions of power. Here are some traits of alpha male. I'm going to run through all of this for your careful consideration. Number one, they are keenly aware of status. They tend to be good looking. This is the alpha male. They're effective leaders and exist at the top of their status hierarchies. They are confident. They are extroverted. They are visionary. They are visionaries. They are vision centered. They are successful with women. So they are not failures in the area of women or relationships, etc. They don't shy away from conflict. They use body language to appear larger than life. Some of your alpha males they appear larger than life. Now watch this. There is such thing as a beta male. A beta male is a fun, confident, charismatic male. They're also driven and tend to be highly motivated. This makes them desirable as dating partners, as many women seek out betas as partners when they realize that they don't have the dating marketplace value to secure an alpha male as a partner. Beta males are fun, confident, and charismatic. They're also driven and tend to be highly motivated. This makes them desirable as dating partners, and many women seek out betas as partners when they realize that they don't have the dating marketplace value to secure an alpha male as a partner. Here's the problem. You have omega male. He's helpful. He's sincere and friendly. He is not competitive. He's satisfied with his means. He doesn't care what other people think about him. He is an introvert. He is relaxed. That's an omega male, not omega man. We're not talking about Greek. We're talking about personality. You have a gamma male, highly intelligent. They're kind and empathetic. They're hopeless romantics. They believe that the depth of their love should hold value to the woman they are with. They struggle to succeed on a dating marketplace. They adopt secret king delusions and grandeur. They're conflict avoidant. They avoid conflict. They're failure avoidant. They do not like failure, so they stay in a place of comfort. They lie to themselves a lot. They fail to understand women. That's your gamma male. Okay, understand that. So here's the point. The point is this, y'all. Number one, you may have to redirect your attention from the alpha male if, in fact, you want to have companionship. You may have to redirect your attention from the alpha males. Yes, alpha males, based upon the description, alpha males are leaders. They're intelligent. They're confident. They're successful. They want to be here in their nature. They see the top. They don't see the bottom. They don't see the middle. They don't see halfway. They're very aggressive. They're very passionate. They lead. They are warriors. They are lions. They are fighters. They have a sense of charisma that other personalities may not have. They are successful with women. And typically an alpha male is going to have many, many, many options. The problem with that is you have the woman that's drawn to the alpha male that has many, many, many options. And we're overlooking the men that may not have the confidence, the aggressiveness, the passion, or the wherewithal as relates to his success, on and on and on. We're looking at them, overlooking those who have, they still have good qualities, hear me, but they just may not be alpha. And so what we find is we see a bunch of single women that are attracted to the alpha, but the alpha has multiple options, and the betas and the omegas and the sigmas and the gamma men, are good men, but they just may not have qualities that you are in hope for. So if in fact you're saying, hey, if I'm going to have a chance of being with someone, hear me, I may have to not settle, but redirect my interest. Now, I know people, hear me, ladies, I think it is the wrong thing to do. I know women, I'm being honest with you. I was talking to, I ain't gonna call the name. I was talking to a very successful older man today. And he made reference to a particular woman. And he said, um, she is going to always have a man. And that's not really what he said. She gonna always, she gonna always have a man. She got to have a man. She can't live without one. She can't be single. That single is a curse for her. So here's a problem with that. I do not recommend a woman become fearful of being single and you just date anybody. Here's why. Because the chance of a man marrying you is slim. Hear me. Let me just say this to the ladies. Just because, and I cannot be vulgar because many of you follow me in another, you see me in another space in the capacity. So I'll say this. I'll be appropriate for the platform and I want to be respectful. Just because you are being mated does not mean a man sees you as a permanent mate. So the problem with the statement that he made about that particular person, he asked about a person and I said, yeah, I think she's dating someone. And so his response was, yep, A, B, C, and D. You do not want to have the reputation, ladies, of always being with someone. You don't want that reputation. Here's why. Because when a man discovers, unless he is somewhat of a sigma male or a gamma male, where he accepts you, that you become like the world's greatest thing to him, a man of high status and power will never, ever settle with a woman that he feels multiple men have engaged with. And I'm not talking about going out on dates. Please read between the lines, y'all. If you have screwed multiple men, if a man of power and status, hear me, y'all, if we can say that an alpha male has the option of about 10 to 15 women, depending upon the demographics of his living quarters, if he has the option of 10 to 15, and depending upon his success, he could probably get anyone he wants, right? So if that type of man discovers that a woman, if one woman has a history of screwing around with multiple men, do you actually think he's going to settle with you? When I say settle, I mean settle down, be content, give you a ring and give you his last name. He's not going to do that. So the problem with dating out of fear is you do not know if a man is going to cuff you. You do not know if a man is going to settle down with you and give you a ring, give you his last name. So if in fact you all date for 5 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years, etc., and you are not married, now you are single and you have to figure out who you're going to date next. And if that man doesn't cuff you, you're going to be single and you got to date someone else. So hear me very carefully. It is important that you do not date out of fear, but you live out of a sense of esteem and you have a sense of purpose, meaning for your own personal life. Because no man, unless he is a weak man, no man, after discovering that multiple men, get this, multiple men have engaged you sexually, no man is giving you his last name. So that's the worst thing you can do. Any man that's, hear me, y'all, any man that settles, I'm talking about a real strong, assertive man. Here's why. Alpha men are very, very possessive. Alpha men are very, very possessive. And what that means is this: even though an alpha male has many, many options, he's not going to allow you to have options. He'll just get rid of you and move on to someone else. You may say, I got options too. An alpha man is not intimidated by that. He's like, all right, well, we ain't about to do nothing. So what I'm saying to you is, it is very, very important that you understand that we have to start here. You cannot date out of fear. You cannot date out of, hey, I may not ever get a man, so let me take this, because you will look up and you have screwed multiple men and you have not secured any. It's just very true. Hear me very carefully. A man is always going to be one. Hear me. That's right. That's a very, very good statement. We should coin that. That a woman is looking at a man's potential. A man is not looking at you and be like, oh, yes, she has a powerful future. A man want to know how many men my girl been in, or how many men, how many men have been in my girl. And if he knows, hey, she's pretty solid, then he will give you the future that you're in hopes for. All right. 931. Here's the advice I have for you. Black sisters, here's my recommendation and opinion for you. If you're going to secure a man, number one, you may want to redirect the type of man you're looking for. Your man that you may secure may not be alpha. Number one. Number two, Christian ladies, he may not be as spiritual as you. You may be overlooking companionship because he may not be a preacher. He may not be a prophet. He may not be able to slay demons, but he goes to work. He's a Christian. He'll read his Bible from time to time, and that's about it. Now, everything is about your decision, but I'm saying I'm just going to give you some things that you can carefully consider. Number three, ladies, black ladies, you may want to stop being so arrogant, pompous, and confident about what you are not going to do. Here's why. Because your competition is a woman that will never say, I am not, but that woman is saying, in order to secure this man, he will never hear me say no. I know you're about to be pissed off at me, but it's cool. I'm going to say that to you one more time, that black women are very stern about all the things they will not do, won't tolerate, etc. We do not hear the equal amount of passions about what you will do for us. No. Have your values, have your principles, have your absolutes. But what if I told you it would be more attractive and popular and drawing power if we heard all of the things that you were willing to do for us versus all the things that you ain't gonna do, knuckle? I ain't doing that. I ain't about to, he ain't this. Hear me very carefully, y'all. Hear me. African American sisters, I love you. As I said before, I think you are the most beautiful, phenomenal specimen that God created on this earth. Hear me very carefully. But you have to reverse the perpetuation of black men ain't S. Man, y'all know I want to say it so bad. Lord he ain't hear my tongue yet. But if in fact you continue to perpetuate this notion that the black man ain't nothing, he are no good, fool, scoundrel, etc., all because he's entertaining another woman, hear me very carefully, all because he didn't want to do A, B, C, and D, until we reverse, until we start calling our black men beautiful and wonderful and amazing and phenomenal, even beyond his flaws and his propensities and his issues and his mistakes. If in fact we continue, hear me very carefully, if black women start to put us on a pedestal, if you will, if in fact black women start to motivate us and tell the world that there's nothing more and there's nothing greater than a black man, we will continue to lose our black women, our black men to white rich women. Dr. Umar says this, that anytime, I ain't gonna even go there, but black men, get this, y'all, this is something that you need to consider too before you run off with a white woman. Dr. Umar says this, that if a black man gets a white woman, a white man didn't want her. Yoo-hoo. Did anybody hear that? Dr. Umar says this: if a black man runs off and gets a white woman, that means a rich white man did not want that particular white woman. That he was suggesting that when we get white women, we get the white man's leftovers. Ooh, that was tough. So what I'm saying is all of us need to do some reevaluating about what we are attracted to. That if in fact the black man and the black woman, we start crowning each other king and queen, maybe we will see the percentages of relationships in the African American community increase. Let me just put this out here. I want me a Southern belle because I love how they respect and cook and all this stuff like that. I'll never marry a white woman. I love God. I love his creation, but I can't marry a white woman. I want a Southern belle, but I can't marry a white woman. But I am saying to us as African American people, if in fact, hear me, ladies, this is for you. If in fact, I'm talking about, and you have to start with your dad that you're pissed off with. You have to start with your grandfather. You have to start with your boyfriend. You have to start with men in general. If in fact we continue to let the world know about how jacked up, I'm talking about even when we do something crazy, even when they lock us up, we have to start advocating for our black men. Black men need to hear the vibration of esteem and affirmation from our sisters, from our queens. Our sisters need to affirm our brothers. Our mothers need to affirm our sons. Even hear me, hear me, ladies, we have to stop letting black men know what we ain't doing. First, we got to start telling them, we got to start saying whatever you like. Ladies, here's my third one before I go. Hear me very carefully, y'all. You have to start walking around like you the baddest thing walking. Don't ever let a black man see you slipping. Hear me. Bonnets got to go. We ain't feeling that. Not no man that wants something out of life. He don't want no woman that's comfortable degrading herself in public. Bonnet around the house is cool. If that's your thing, fine. But when you walk outside, you have to, that's where it starts. Well, I can do this. Ain't nobody gonna tell me. You got to stop that. You got to walk out and represent your people, represent your species, represent your community and your family well. You got to walk out. Here's interesting to me. African women don't walk out with bonnets. African women don't go to stores with slippers on and house coats and house shoes, all because, hear me. So there is a shift, a mind shift and change that we have to have as Western African American people. We have to do it. Here's the other thing. So hear me. You got to be fine. You got to be sexy. You got to brag, and you got to stop talking about what you ain't going to do. Number one, hear me very carefully. That's another thing. So here's my next. I got 7 for you. We have to, ladies, you have to be prepared to wait. That it may take you a while to get married. That you have to wrap your mind around the fact that you may not be married at 30, 31, 32 unless you settle for something less than what you believe you deserve. The other thing is women should consider dating outside of race if that's your thing. Now I'm talking from a global perspective, a more diversified perspective. The other thing, black women should consider a more submissive role to the black man. That we, listen, ladies, taking a more submissive role. I know you smart. I know you went to school. I know you got an education, but you have to say, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, but I'm a boss outside, but I am a woman inside. That he takes charge. And when a man feels as if you respect who he is, his position, his authority, etc., he coming home to you. You heard me. Hear me, black ladies, you have to value him above your money. The truth of the matter is we have always placed the woman. We've always placed the man in this particular position. If he ain't got this, then don't mess with him. But what if I told you that if sometimes black men don't cuff black women because they feel as if they don't have enough. They don't have enough to keep you. They don't have enough to please you. They don't have enough for your acceptance. So when in fact we start esteeming their leadership role, their ability to affirm, their ability to hear me, black men are more valuable than the dollar amount that they bring to the table. We have to understand that, ladies. You have to stop putting a number on how much he has to make. We have to stop doing that. Don't listen, be mad, argue, cuss me, that's fine. But hear me very carefully. It's interesting that other ethnicities, he gotta make this, he got to make that. Oh, what if we start saying things like this? Is he a leader? Will he raise his kids? Is he a person that will love me, take care of me, protect me, etc.? Versus he got to make six figures. Shut up. You don't even make six figures. You have to, he is more valuable than a dollar amount. And when we start esteeming the power of the black man beyond his dollar value, then maybe he'll come home. When we stop trying to put them on the stage, ladies, and say, perform for me, Negro, and I'll hear me. It's interesting, Leah. It's interesting to me that the truth of the matter is the black man is the only one that's on the auctioning block, listen, amongst his own people and white America. Isn't that interesting that the black man got to come home and stand on the stage and dance to your tune and make sure he has this together and make sure he has that together. And then that's when he's, oh, maybe I'll be accepted by my family, or maybe I'll be accepted by my black woman. And then at the same time, the NFL, all the sports arenas, they're auctioning us off. And then the prison systems are auctioning us off. So when does the black man get a break? When does the black man get a break? Why does he have to go and get the biggest ring why is he trying to do that? I'm just saying, man. Lastly, as you're waiting, choosing, deciding, ladies, hear me very carefully. Do not put your identity and your esteem into companionship while you're waiting, while you're preparing, while you are transforming your mind as it relates to yourself and your perspective of the African American male. Is my recommendation that you start to build your own empires in preparation for companionship. Do not wait on a man to choose you, but at the same time, evolve. So when you are chosen, you are a gift, you are pleasant, you are ready, or you're prepared to be the best version of yourself for that particular man. Welcome to Bandwidth. Welcome to Bandwidth, yo. Go and be great. Whatever you do, don't forget to be a lion. Too easy. Yeah, man. Thank you for opportunity into Bandwidth, y'all. I love you. Thank you for supporting this pop-up session. Yeah, we're at 61 episodes, y'all. Let's go up, man. Let's keep killing it. Thank y'all for supporting, man. I love y'all so much. Give me some feedback about the show. Inbox me, email my team, send me a message, send me a text message. Let me know what you thought about today's session. We have a few more days before the end of the year. It's going to be a phenomenal last 2 or 3 weeks. Stay focused, stay determined, and continue to build your empires. Too easy.